What's up, Ninja Monkeys? This is King Cole TV here with another wonderful member spotlight. Today we have ShambazzleGames. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Hanging in there, man. Living the dream. Living the dream. Why did you start streaming and when?
Why did I start streaming? So this is interesting. Actually, a long time ago, I started streaming. I kind of found my niche in the tabletop D&D category.
Cool.
I and a bunch of theater friends of mine got together to start playing 5e D&D, and I was running games, and I really enjoyed it. And Twitch was always something that I was a part of, more as a viewer and gaming enthusiast, I guess. So I brought those two worlds together, and it was at a time when there were not a lot of live streaming D&D shows on Twitch. So I thought it'd be cool to get into something like that, but I had a long ways to go. So I started just streaming. I built the channel drawing hand-drawn encounter maps for tabletop games on my bed. I had this 33-inch engineering-sized pad of graph paper, and I would just draw them with graphite pencils and shade them in and kind of create these tabletop maps to play with miniatures on. And I used, I had a MacBook Pro that my company owned 3 years ago, and it was propped up on top of a trumpet case. And I used the camera for that to face me. I had one standing lamp that I got from IKEA, and I had a Logitech webcam that I taped to a microphone stand to give me this like overhead camera. So I did that for a lot of years. That was actually pretty functional, yeah. And that's when that's how I started to build my audience and my niche in the D&D category. And from there, I wound up just continuing to build and save up, and you add a piece here and a piece there. On the same laptop, it got me all the way up to a full podcast setup where I invited those friends to sit around the table. And at that point, I had, I think, 4 webcams that were strung up.
Wow.
Used the same mic stand to tape them to, and I could actually film 2 sides of the table, myself and the map. And from there, we launched what we call the Charisma Check podcast. Wow. And that's where my fandom gets the name Checkmates. So my community is called the Checkmates. And the rest is kind of history. We got a lot of views on YouTube. We got a lot of traction on Twitch. Started to build a following there. I started to grow out into other types of shows like this D&D talk show type format, game prep, campaign planning. And over the years, I've kind of come and gone from it. And then I just finally kind of settled into my groove about 9 months ago, I would say. And that's when I really started to cook with gas, as they say.
Who or what inspires you as a streamer or content creator?
Oh, man. Content creators for a long time, like way back to YouTube. As far as content creation goes, my formal background's in digital marketing. So I've always been close to like content creation, influencer relationships before they became influencer relationships. So I started focusing on digital marketing before Twitter really had its second coming or its proper launch. But as far as what influences me or who influences me specifically on Twitch, I've always had a really big community focus. I've been driven on the quality of the interaction and the engagement with my audiences. So streamers who I've found keep that at the forefront were always ones that I felt I identified with. Like a couple that come to mind to me most frequently are like Co-Carnage, CDN the Third, because he's like super high energy. I love that like high energy, get up and go, the kind of streamers that people want to watch and they get engaged with and they get drawn into because it makes them feel good. And that's what I aspire to do with my streams too, is high energy, high interactivity, high engagement. And just I want people who come in to have that feeling like I'm glad I showed up here, or this is something really cool that I discovered. And that's been the response I've been getting, fortunately. So that's anybody who I think provides that for me as a viewer. That's something that I try to kind of aspire to and keep the bar high on.
What's your favorite game to stream and category? We've kind of been over this one already, but I guess you can give us specifics about the game if you want.
I mean, I have to obviously throw a nod to my alma mater in D&D. Tabletop gaming is what first really got me bit on the streaming side of things, so that's got a special place in my heart. But it certainly wasn't the first or the last game that I played. So my favorite, right now I'm streaming a lot of GTA 5 RP, and I think that's because the idea of building character, story, and existing in a character in GTA 5 roleplay is just like a perfect second cousin to D&D and building worlds and creative narrative, creating creative narrative at the table with friends. So I think those two really go hand in hand together. Otherwise, when I'm not doing tabletop stuff and game prep, campaign planning, and D&D TTRPG chat, any game that I usually like to play for my community is some kind of RPG or role play, character builder or quest grind or skills based MMO, that type of thing.
Right on. What are your goals as a streamer?
Oh, goals as a streamer. You know what? As I will continue to do this as long as it's fun, as long as people are enjoying it. So I think my goal there really is to always bring that energy into stream. Always endeavor to kind of get to that level, no matter what kind of day I'm having, because I find that stream actually gets me there. I don't really have to like prop up before stream. I just happens naturally because I enjoy it. I just enjoy being there. So I think my goal is just keep providing that experience, keep providing that energy. Professionally, though, I would say for me, it's really hot. It's Weekend Warrior. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of other streamers out there have the dream of like, I'd love to be able to do this full time. I'd love to be able to do it independently sufficient. I don't really know if that's in the cards for me. Like I said, I do have a very fulfilling career that I love as a digital marketer. But this is a really great supplement because it allows me to get into the mix of the tools and communities that I look to as a marketer, but also it's a great creative outlet for me. So my goal is just to keep creating. I'd love to do it more. If it becomes self-sufficient at some time in the future, then I certainly won't shy away from it. But for me, it's about diversifying things. So I'll always have my career, and this will be a great something that I can keep going on the side as much. I'll put as much and pretty much every minute I have into it, and anything else that I yield in return will be additive. So just to keep it being supplemental, keep looking for opportunities to diversify any revenue from that, but at the same time building and growing that energetic, enthusiastic, and engaged audience.
What is the biggest challenge when it comes to streaming and growing your community?
I think time and consistency. That's key. That was the hardest thing for me to establish. And I think that is really where a lot of young or new or even intermediate streamers get a little hung up is finding out who you are, right? So I can promise you that the minute you realize who you are and what you want to do here, that's day one. All the other stuff before is exploratory. When you figure out who you are, what your voice is, what your approach is, what your values are, what your niche is, or in our friends to the south, I'm Canadian, so I say niche. In the US, I say niche. That's really where you start to strike fire. So I think consistency, figuring out like when you can stream consistently so your viewership gets an idea of when they can expect you, consistency of tone and who you are so they can expect what they get when they tune in at those times. And then finding a game that's going to be consistent for you, that's going to speak to you. The idea of like only play what you love is a little tricky because that might not necessarily what people want to watch, and that's fine if you just want to play a game you love. But the reality is, if you're looking to grow, then you also have to play to an audience, and I think that's something that a lot of streamers miss. Like, it's not just you. If you want to grow at that level, it's not just you, and it certainly isn't just about you. It's about what you're there to provide, right? It's entertainment as a service. And how you diversify your networking and how you market yourself and what engagements and relationships you're looking to build. So consistency across all of those. And then for the love of God, like, show up on time for stream, treat it like something serious because you're dealing with real people who come to watch you, right? So how would you feel if you felt like the entertainer on screen, like, didn't really care if you were there or not? If they don't even care if they're there or not, you know what I mean? So trying to keep it consistent. Things happen. You have to take time off. You might miss a stream or two, but if you do communicate it with your audience, and just try to be consistent.
Why did you pick the name you did? ShambazzleGames. Tell us about that.
So it's a weird name, and it's not rooted to anything other than this. It started in high school. You might remember there's a convention, like, your stripper name is like the name of your first pet and the street you grew up on. So a bunch of friends of ours are kind of doing that a lot in high school when I was growing up, and my buddy and I, we were big into gaming, and we were big into like really low level web design. So we had GeoCities. If anybody remembers that, it's going to put us in a very particular vintage. But yeah, we had GeoCities pages, and we just wanted to create these gamer handles for ourselves. So we thought about this, like, what about the stripper name thing, right? Like you do this, this and the street you grew up on, dog's name. We were like, well, I don't know. We didn't want to like just put it into a formula and spit something out like that. We're like, let's just make our own. So my buddy came up with Perhaps McMaybe, which is kind of funny. And I just randomly came up with Shambazzle Drop Zowie. And we kind of like, we were like, well, what would our names be if we were strippers, but also gamers? That makes no sense at all, but that's the story. So I wound up with, I just stuck with Shambazzle, and that became my gamer handle from like the early days of Counter-Strike all the way up to and through like Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies and into World of Warcraft back when that was in like beta, when beta testing was actually testing. And I kept a Shambazzle the whole way through. So for Twitch, it just made sense to carry that on as ShambazzleGames. And then I added games to the end of it because I wanted to represent the diversity, I guess, of the games that I had played and was playing.
What's the first game you ever played? And then, so we'll do this one in tandem. So what's the first game you ever played? And then what's your favorite game of all time?
Okay. So yeah, I'm a bit of a trope in that regard. But the first game I ever played technically was Pong on the Pong system. Pong was a system that was built for that game. But the first game I really kind of played, I think, was like Pac-Man. A lot of like arcade games when that was the only place to go and play games. But the first game that really like hooked me, that got me into gaming, was Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So nice. That was when that had first come out. And if you remember when the Nintendo launched, it came out with like a cereal. There was a cereal. So the game that came with Nintendo was a Mario Duck Hunt combo, and they launched a cereal as part of the marketing campaign, which was a Mario Duck Hunt cereal. I'm just dating it because I like to do that to myself, apparently. So I fell in love with Mario Brothers. My friends were all gung-ho about it. So we would get together. We would mow lawns on the weekend to get enough money to go to the video store to rent a Nintendo for like 3 days. We'd mow lawns all week, save up all of our money, and then we go to the video store and rent a Nintendo for the weekend. And that was our cycle. That was a life of summers right there. Playing Mario Brothers, and then I think Spy Hunter when that came out, and
wow,
yeesh.
Those were okay. I'm sitting here grinning ear to ear because those were really good times, my friend. Those were good times.
Yeah. Used to come in a big plastic case. You'd have to put down like a $50 deposit.
Yeah. Blockbuster, movie, Hollywood Video, whatever those places were, right? Really cool stuff.
In hindsight, we weren't smart enough as kids to know that if we went and rented the thing and then paid the $50 deposit and kept it, we would lose $50 instead of having to pay like $180 for the system to begin with.
Yeah.
And then it becomes Blockbuster's problem, but
That's awesome.
They had their own challenges eventually anyway. So
they certainly did. Shout out Netflix.
They didn't need kids like us contributing.
When did you join NMSS?
I was familiar, and then I saw Drysdale's post on Reddit. And I was like, oh yeah, it was one of those things that I kind of pegged, and then it left from my mind until I saw him post again. I just hit him up on Reddit. We were chatting, and he was like, yeah, here, I'll shoot you an invite, and popped on. And it's funny because leading up to that, I was like, there has to be a way to grab like-minded people and like-minded creators together in the genuine support of one another. And I was thinking about creating this, and I was like, but it's a lot of work. And I give him mad credit for that, and all the people who make this community work mad credit for that. So then when I found that, hey, it's there, the idea is right there, it is this community, I was just like, that was it. I was like, I got to get in here. I gotta meet these folks. And right from day one, everything is so clear, so structured, so organized in a good way. I mean, it's planful. You know what I mean? There's nothing. It's straight organic. It's just a bunch of creators like this who like us who genuinely care about each other's growth and each other's content and being supportive and being welcoming. And it's only good things, right? And it's strictly within the realm of what's allowed when good people get together and work together towards a common goal. And that's beautiful. I love that we're very careful. Like, we know what the rules are. We're very careful about doing it right. We're very careful about keeping it honest. and those values spoke directly to my values, and it was just there. It's a perfect fit, like a glove.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's that hasn't been touched on before. That's absolute factual, though. Those things, I guess, hit me on a more passive basis. Wanting to be within TOS and do things the right way. Definitely feels good to be a part of something like that, right?
Yeah, because that's key. And let's be real. I mean, if you want to print this or not, it's totally up to you. But let's be honest. When something like this works and it works well, the first thing that the environment is going to do is look at it and scrutinize it, right? And say like, oh well, what's going on over here? But from day one and everything we've done, it's been very carefully manicured to be within the rules and use the systems the way they're intended to be used. And at the end of the day, it really is just a bunch of people who genuinely are real. You can come talk to us. You can watch us on casts. You can see us interact with one another in chat.
Yeah.
There's not like, there are humans behind this work, and they're very passionate humans.
Well said.
Only good things can come from that. So.
Well said. We're definitely printing that 100%. Thank you. What's your favorite thing about NMSS?
Oh man, it's exactly that. I think it's like I'm used to, you see something and you're like, this is too good to be true, and then unfortunately sometimes it usually works out to be that way. But this is one of those things. It's like is this too good to be true? But no, it's very real. And the approach is real, the work is real. It just felt good, and I'm one of my favorite things about it is that I don't have to go and create it, and two is I've never before met such a concentrated group of people who think like me, believe like I do, and genuinely want to help out in the way that I want to help and be helped too. Let's not forget that. I mean, like, we all want support. So you get it here and you give it here because you feel responsible for it.
Hey, well said again. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So do you have any, we'll wrap it up here. If you have any shout outs or anything like that, go ahead.
As you mentioned, my name is Brad, aka ShambazzleGames. You can find me at twitch.tv/ShambazzleGames. I am ShambazzleGames everywhere on the internet. I post regular content daily on Twitter as well. So I hope to see you in chat.
Sounds perfect. All right, well, I will see you in the next raid, my friend. Thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the man, King Cole. Thank you very much. I look forward to catching your stream too.
For sure.
It's fun to share the raid with you, but I got to get on the other side of your chat too. Right?
And likewise, man. Likewise, I'm about to blow your Discord up. We actually have a lot of stuff to talk about offline. Probably won't print that bit either, but maybe we will. But yeah, marketing way, stuff like that. Really cool stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds good, man.
Right on. Take care.
Hit me up. All right, thanks, dude. Talk to you soon.
Later.
Bye now.